Welcome to Grit and Gravitas with Anne and Annie, bringing you savvy, spirited stories of success. We're excited to deliver 30 minutes of inspiration, impact, and goodness. We'll be bringing you guests and friends from around the country who have very special work and personal journeys. I'm Anne Deeter Gallaher, your co-host with Anne Carnathan, and this is Grit and Gravitas. Let's go! Welcome to Grit and Gravitas. I think, Annie, we are episode 33. It is always a good day when I spend with you, and we have a super special guest. I'm beyond excited to introduce Jen Hartmann, who is Director of Public Relations and Enterprise Social Media at none other than John Deere.
Wow.
So, Jen, welcome. Well, and I'm super excited that we are not only audio, we're video, because our friends and fans and listeners have to see Jen's John Deere tractor behind her. I think I would work better with that kind of environment, don't you think?
And she just has it going on. I mean, look at her.
I know. So, leather jacket is very hip. Very
exactly.
Good.
Yeah, all good.
So this is Women's History Month. This is even more super exciting. And Jen, I have admired you on Twitter for a long time. I'm probably above the age demographic of a Twitter, follower. Got on in 2009. So Scott Monty was one of my first friends on there, and he was social for Ford Motor Company. You, another phenomenal brand ambassador, PR, for what is John Deere? Fortune what?
Fortune 100.
Fortune 100. That's awesome. And what a history. So,
certified fangirl. Let's just get that out of the way.
Yes. And Pennsylvania is an agricultural state. So we are not, at our PA Farm Show, we're filled with the John Deere green. But we want to dig in a little bit. We want to talk about your professional career. We want to talk about what it's like, behind the scenes at a brand of an international stature. But let's just start at the beginning. Did you grow up wanting to work for John Deere?
I did. I grew up here in the Quad Cities, which is home to John Deere's world headquarters. Okay. And I had an aunt who worked for John Deere. She was an executive assistant. I didn't know what she did. I just knew she worked at Deere, and she was the cool aunt. I think we all have those, the cool, fun aunts or uncles. And I just thought the world of her and knew I wanted to be like her. And then, of course, when I went away to school and picked up public relations in college and did some interning at Edelman, I still recall one of the commutes into the city on the train. I was reading, back in the day when we had like print newsletters from our alumni. I was reading the alumni newsletter, and I thought someday I'm going to be head of PR for John Deere.
Wow.
I still remember thinking it. It took me a while to get there. had a few diversions along the way, but here I am, and boy, it's been a ride.
So based on those diversions, Jen, because this is my first question, how do you stay that course with essentially a goal, a dream, at that point so early when life is going to throw you off the rails? What was the passion behind that? How in the world did you stay focused on that dream?
I've noted this on my Twitter profile before, but I have never used my head. I've always thought and followed my heart. And it's
wait, business vitamin right there. Business vitamin. It's okay and maybe recommended to follow your heart for these things, for your career especially.
I always say following your heart can get you hurt. But it can also lead you to tremendous rewards.
Oh my, yes.
And one of the diversions I actually ended up in is that I interviewed for a role with the United Way here in the Quad Cities area. And when I interviewed, one of the lead volunteers on the board of directors was the head of communications at the time for United Way. And I'll be honest, in my head, I was thinking, oh my gosh, if I got this job, I would be learning through, with, and for, the head of communications for Deere. And that was really my motivation at the time when I did get offered the role to take it. I ended up sticking with United Way for 9 years
Oh
because, again,
wow.
my heart fell in love with the mission
Right.
and the great work that United Way does for its communities. Ultimately, it kept me connected to Deere and did pave the pathway towards eventually working there. But again, it's never proven me wrong. It has always led me to where I need to be in the right moment.
No, that's amazing. So you obviously love your employer, you love the brand, you embrace the brand. What have been some of the challenges as you started on the PR trajectory? And I know from research you came into the director position in what, March 2020?
March 2020.
Okay. And I think well, we've hit the 2-year anniversary of when, World Health Organization declared it a pandemic. But what were some of these challenges? I can't even imagine what you went through.
Yeah, here's what's so interesting, and I tell this story quite a bit. But my predecessor was in the role as director of PR for 21 years at Deere, and so was really one of those staunch traditional PR practitioners,
Right.
and really focused primarily on reputational risk, mitigating those risks. Did not have a strong interest, and nor was it really part of Deere's culture to be proactive, to be out in front of issues, to be speaking to social, political issues, and taking a stance per se.
Right.
I sat down with him on February 28th of 2020 before he retired. And I said, in the event Deere were ever to face a significant crisis,
Oh my goodness.
Oh my
Oh
word.
my goodness.
would it be okay if I reached out to you? And he said no.
I did not see that coming.
He said no. And looking back, I believe two things. One, he was ready. He was ready for retirement. But number two, I really believe he wanted me to stand on my own. And looking back now in how the past 2 years unfolded, and with the global pandemic presenting such significant and unique challenges, and for a global company with 72 units globally, every single factory was facing its own crisis in the moment in real time. And so I'm thankful now that I did not have that lifeline, that I needed to stand on my own, demonstrate my own strengths, skill sets, and really gain some really valuable trust with peers across the company.
And there was no blueprint for that. And and I think to loop this back around, you had to use your instincts and your heart to go through something. You hate to hear the word unprecedented, but just extraordinarily difficult, even every hour.
Well, and for 2 years,
Right.
it was the global pandemic. It was the murder of George Floyd. It was the chaos and strife around the election of 2020. It
Supply
was
chain.
January 6th. It was the strike that we had this
Right.
past fall. And now we have the war in Ukraine.
Oh,
So there's no let up.
There is no let up. There's no roadmap. I think we've all seen, it's not exclusive to Deere. The world has changed.
Yes.
How media covers events has changed. How employees look to their employer for guidance, direction, a position
Right,
on
right.
political, social issues. How society now looks to brands to solve significant issues and to take action that will help address those issues. There's research that came out of the Edelman Trust Barometer here a couple months ago that increasingly, because people trust politicians less, they're looking to CEOs and brands to solve societal issues and challenges and problems. And so I
Wow.
think that puts PR practitioners in a new ballgame that none of us have a roadmap for.
Right.
And for the leadership teams we support and the companies we represent, this is presenting, gosh, we're learning day by day how to navigate these issues. And to your point, sometimes it's day by day.
Well, I think the PR that I graduated in, and I've been at this a year or two, um, is just a totally different planet because we didn't start with social media. So when we were connecting with, news directors or TV reporters, radio, it was much more deliberate and we came prepared. So we would wake up worrying about the news cycle or a reporter reaching out to us, but you didn't go to sleep wondering what Twitter was going to, if you were going to become a hashtag, or if your stock price was going to be negatively affected
You were
by
trending.
or you're trending somebody's rogue comment. So tell us, how did you navigate? I mean, you're working with international media after you've had all the experts at the table and you formulated messages and responses, but then you have this unwieldy social platforms out there, and how did you navigate that?
So one of the really great things Deere did organizationally is that I oversee PR and social. And even before me,
So put them together.
social was in PR. And I talk to colleagues and they don't have that benefit.
Right, right.
And in my opinion, social is the pulse of news.
Totally.
And it's the pulse of the trending topics and what the conversations, Twitter in particular, will
Mhm.
tell you what people are caring about when.
Right, right.
Immediately.
Immediately.
Right.
And you talk about what it used to be like. Gosh, we used to have the gift of time.
I know. Yeah.
We used to have the gift of time to prepare a statement, to develop a response, to ensure that the company could stand behind whatever that response was going to be. And there's so much pressure now on businesses and companies to respond immediately,
Right.
and to we now have this world, and it happened during the pandemic. It happened following the murder of George Floyd. It happened following January 6th. It's happening now with the situation in Ukraine. Universities or companies or media will put out a list
Yes.
and they will start ticking down. Here are the companies and the actions they've taken or have not taken, right?
Right.
And it becomes this clicking top, this clock of who is doing the right thing and who's not,
Right.
when in fact business is so much more complicated than that. There's so much more to businesses and how they operate and how they support employees, particularly on a global stage
Right.
and in a global environment. um, the dependency we have on parts and supply chains, and the changes in cultural beliefs from each one of those areas of the world, and yet the world demands that you have an answer immediately.
Right.
And it better meet whatever need you're being called upon to act. And while I appreciate the desire for companies to do the right thing, it is incredibly challenging to be able to respond succinctly, and meet that need within the hour.
Right.
And I think
Now,
that's probably the biggest challenge that I face, is that pressure to respond so immediately.
So for one of our goals at Grit and Gravitas is to shorten the learning curves of those younger than us. So, for me, that might be the 20-something, who's choosing a major, deciding where they want to intern, or really choosing what brand they want to work for. So what advice do you have for the younger person? And I'll say in our industry, PR, and Annie's in media too. So it would be one, maybe one bucket. I would say first go on Twitter, follow you and follow the brands and see what they can learn. But these are, you just really have to have a mastery of your corporation and the values and the principles. These are things you can't tweet immediately. Like you said, that this is heavy content to put out there. So what advice to these young people might you have?
One of the best pieces of advice I got when I got in this role from another PR practitioner, older and wiser than I am, that is probably a business vitamin, is that you have to start building your pain tolerance.
Oh, good. Good.
And you have to build pain tolerance as a brand and as a professional. The world is fairly unforgiving right now,
Right.
but they are unforgiving momentarily. Your brand might be the trending topic because of a misstep or an unintentional misquote.
Right.
Maybe a CEO said something that creates a firestorm. It'll be gone tomorrow, and Twitter will have moved on to the next thing. And that pain tolerance is tough because I the pressure you feel in the moment. It's very easy for me to say to build that pain tolerance, because when you care about the brand you represent and you care about their reputation, when you care about your own reputation, it can be excruciating to weather out that storm. But it passes. It passes. And how well you navigate that storm, the calm you
Right.
convey to
Right.
others, and the confidence you have in the guidance you've provided, will pay off in ways that will be very rewarding for your career.
And I think of pain tolerance as pressure tested.
Yes.
Say, and you do build up sort of a perspective, a tolerance, just a deep breath to want to impact that response immediately. But I will tell you the overwhelming, and I'll say this feeling I get from you on Twitter, and it is overwhelming to me, is that I feel like you live each day with a really grateful heart. I think you're very, very empathic. I think that comes from you no matter, what you're tweeting, what you're grateful for in the moment. And so I don't think you can manufacture that. And how important is it for women to maintain that throughout what is an extraordinarily challenging, difficult time period? We all have something. So how do you keep emoting that and have that grateful heart?
Well, I am lucky and fortunate, and it seems weird to preface what I'm about to say with that, but I'm fortunate to have a lot of daily reminders that show me in numerous ways why I should be grateful. And that's that I have a daughter with autism. She's autistic. And when I am having some of my more challenging moments, my daughter frequently, often, and consistently reminds me of what's important.
Great.
When someone who's autistic, they see the world very black and white. My daughter does not understand this world of pretend we all live in. We pretend to like someone. We pretend to be interested in their conversation. We pretend to enjoy going to a business meeting. Uh, and so she reminds me that pretending doesn't really get us anywhere. And the more authentic we can be, the more vulnerable we allow ourselves to be, the more real we are, the more those around us, the more those younger than us, the more my team, the more the managers I work for, the leaders I report to have permission to be themselves as well.
Right. That's a great point. That's a great point.
That's astounding, because you can intuit that from Twitter, because it's obviously not how you say it, it's the words you use. It's and that's what's been overwhelming to me. I'm like, oh my goodness, how do I just keep feeling that? And it's a feeling.
Women are so apologetic. And
Yes.
I try, I do it. Sometimes I tweet things to hold myself accountable. And so if I put it out in the universe, people better see me living up
Right.
to whatever I just, put out there. And one of those is that it's not exclusive to women, but we tend to qualify out what our ask, our demands, our needs, our advice, our counsel. I'm just a communicator, but here's what I think we should do. Could I just have a minute of your time? I don't mean to bother you, but I think I have an idea. I twice in my career, at two very memorable moments, I was told by male supervisors, Jen, do you think or do you know? Because we've hired you for what you know.
That's great.
So if
Wow.
you're going to bring this up in this meeting today, I need to hear what you know. And I will often say, I think we should.
That's a business vitamin too, especially
Oh.
and part of our encouragement, Jen, is to show the way for younger women, mid-careerists to seek those board positions, because if the needle isn't moving fast enough, we really need to encourage other women. Raise your hand, say yes. Don't wait to have your door knocked on. Like, is there an open board position? Go seek that. Make a short list of places you want to serve and you feel that your voice would add value. And to your point, I've never heard a male at any board table I've sat on that said that either raised their hand. They don't raise their hand. They talk. And I'm not saying that's wrong, but that's the way it is. And you're exactly right. They don't qualify anything. And they often speak before they know. And we're sitting there, already deeply experienced and then asking permission to speak.
Right. Now, I haven't been part of this meeting. I wasn't here at the meeting last week, so I might not be fully informed, but we do it a lot. We do it a lot, and we need to stop.
Yes, we do.
And I don't know if this is going to sound harsh or not, but I just wanted to
Yes.
say, yeah.
And young people disqualify themselves by their age.
Yes.
They will say, I'm just, or, I know I'm not as senior as. We got to stop.
I totally agree with that. And I think the emotional resilience, I've confessed that a number of times. I haven't really mastered that, so I'm still working on that. I've been decades into business ownership, and in the PR world, if a client says, "Oh, that's not really your best, Dan," I need to continue working on just getting right back in the ring and saying, you know what,
Yes.
this is my best. But if you would speak for a second, Jen, on you've had your significant physical challenges as well in your past. And how has that prepared you or steeled you to meet COVID and meet the current international situation head on?
So you brought up something that is a bit of a anniversary for me. 11 years ago yesterday, I had surgery to remove a brain tumor
Wow.
that had wrapped around my vagus nerve, which, by the way, controls your vocal cords, which also controls your ability to swallow, right? So your vocal cords close to allow food, to go down the right pipe.
Right.
And that surgery meant I ran a really severe risk that I would no longer be able to speak, or be able to eat or drink. And I'd have to rely on a feeding tube. And I had about 3 months pre-surgery to really take stock of my life and my career. Um, Simultaneously, not knowing if it was benign or not. It was, thank God.
Yes, thankful.
But genuinely taking stock of how I spent time outside of the office, where I put my volunteer hours, and what the result was when I woke up from that surgery. And while I had a few challenges for a while, knew that I would be able to speak and eat eventually based on how well the surgery went. I resigned from every board I was on. I resigned from every volunteer role I held, and I started my own nonprofit. And the nonprofit is focused here in the Quad Cities on raising funds and awareness for families with children diagnosed with autism.
Wow.
And, I go back to the whole putting my heart before my head. I was on all those committees because I knew it would be good for my career, because I knew it would look good on a resume. I could help. It was all worthwhile
Right.
effort, right? They was all, but some of the volunteering, didn't really capture my heart or my passion. And when I put my heart and passion and time and energy in work that meant something so incredibly important to me personally, it took off.
Awesome.
And I think that's a lesson as well. um, when we check a box on that career path and we do what everyone tells us we should do, um, while it's important and will likely get you where you want to go eventually, you're not going to have as much fun doing it.
Right. And that's a great business vitamin and personal vitamin too. I mean, we get inundated with requests as a PR, professional. What board wouldn't want you, especially now representing John Deere on the board?
And that was why it was interesting. Jen tweeted, every off-kilter song I ever sing, I'm thankful for, because guess what? I can
Yes,
sing everybody.
I know.
Doesn't mean I sing well, but I laughed out loud, and I thought that's someone with the perspective and, again, the grateful heart that's who I want to read, and that's who I want to interact with, and that's who I want to talk to. So.
And
this conversation is a miracle. So it's like that, this PR job that I'm in, I remember one of the doctors asking in one of my pre-op appointments, are you in a career that requires you to communicate a lot? Because he knew the surgery might
Yeah.
mean I talk afterwards. And every year on the anniversary, my husband calls it T-free day, tumor-free day.
Yeah.
So we celebrate T-free day every year on March 10th. And every year we take pause and I take stock on where I am in my career, how absolutely blessed I am to be able to do what I'm doing, to be able to have these kind of conversations. And I think that's never going to be lost on me, now until I retire.
Well, it's a good reminder. We often say time is non-renewable.
Extraordinary, right.
And a good reminder to serve where your passion is.
Yes.
And even younger people, make a short list of things you're most passionate about. I've been on committees and boards, children and food insecurity would be my passions. I've served on a symphony, committee. I love that. I love the arts, but that wasn't my top three, to your point, is just do your own introspection and find out where you really can invest yourself with the most return for something that your heart believes in.
Passion.
Absolutely.
Well, just like that,
Not already.
And it's a minute and a half left remaining. That's how fast and riveting these conversations are. And I sincerely
Well, this is
mean
the
that.
positive side of social media, Jen, that the amount of incredible men and women we have met. We would never be able to take a course with this kind of knowledge and meet, really create a sense of community, opportunity for us to start a podcast just a little over a year ago. And out of our own curiosity, we have met amazing women like yourself and Ginger Z and Miss Pennsylvania, a lot of amazing people. And where can our friends and listeners find you?
On Twitter, my handle is @Jen Allison, JenAlYson.
Great.
And please interact with that. You're going to be a better person for it. And to me, that's what I would love all of Twitter to be.
I know. And we'll keep sharing our fabulous John Deere family photos.
Thank you so much.
Jen,
Yes.
thank you. And I hope you have a great weekend.
Yes. Have a high gear day, Jen. Thank you. And congrats on all your anniversaries. That's
Thank you.
what a blessing. Thank you. Thanks for listening. It's our desire that these stories will bring energy, ideas, and fresh thinking that you can use today. Subscribe to our podcast and follow us on Instagram, and have a high gear day.